I'm Marites Vitug, and this is Worldview. We take a look at global, regional, and national affairs in conversations with officials, newsmakers, and analysts. Joining us is John Robert Go, or Rob, Associate Professor of the Political Science Department at the University of the Philippines. He is a China expert. He has studied Chinese domestic politics, one of the few academics who follow China closely. He did his postgraduate studies in Wuhan and speaks Mandarin. We will be talking about how China views the victory of Donald Trump and what the Trump presidency will mean for China. Welcome to the show, Rob. I'll call you Rob since you're much younger.
Yes, yes.
And as I said earlier, we'll talk about how China views the Trump victory in the U.S. So what are the China state media saying about Trump's victory? Then maybe later on, what are the netizens saying as well?
Well, basically, there's nothing new that they are expecting because, Trump already became president before. And therefore, they have more or less similar expectations on what a Trump presidency 2.0 might look like. And of course, they also note that there is some consistency with the foreign policy of the United States towards China. Because you see that when Trump was president, the relationship was quite rough. And then with Biden's presidency, it just continued. And probably it will continue the same for another Trump presidency.
So you said they have expectations of Trump 2.0. Can you talk a bit more about what China expects from Trump, the second Trump presidency?
Yeah, I think this expectation is reflected in the dialogue that happened between Biden and Xi Jinping. If you remember, they had a close meeting just recently, where Xi Jinping made very clear 4 red lines that China is saying that this should be the basis of our relationship. I think the first one was about the Taiwan question. So China was very particular about the Taiwan independence, and U.S. should not interfere with that. The second one is on democracy and human rights, because U.S. has been pointing out these issues on China, and China feels that, we are democratic and we are in favor of human rights. And then the third one is the path and system of China. China believes that, hey, we have our own system and you should not interfere on that particular system, especially socialism with Chinese characteristics, the leadership of the CCP. And then the fourth one is the right to development, because as we note, the US has implemented and even enacted laws that could hinder China's development from within. Yeah.
I see. So in these 4 red lines, hindi kasama ang South China Sea kasi Taiwan is number 1.
Yes.
So ang South China Sea hindi pala kasama sa 4 red lines. What does this mean?
What does this mean? I guess very important for China is the issue of Taiwan independence. I think this is as early as Mao Zedong. No, they have been already talking about the reunification. So for them, this is the flagship issue. No, that U.S. and China should not be really concerned with. No, I mean their relationship should not be concerned with, because U.S. has no business talking about Taiwan, at least from the Chinese perspective. So the South China Sea, probably it's one of the minor issues, but not a very big issue for China right now in relation with the U.S. and under a Trump presidency.
Okay, how about on social media? I know that you monitor
Yeah.
Chinese social media. Ano naman ang sinasabi nila about Trump's victory?
They really have not much expectation on Trump's victory. In the first place, noticeably, hindi masyado nagfa-follow ang Chinese media and even the netizens in the social media with the US elections. No? Kasi parang, whether it is Democrat or Republican, they felt na it's the same thing. No? They will still have a policy which is against China. So kumbaga si netizens, when they learn that Trump win, okay, so Trump won. Okay, we hope that the relationship will not be as bad. Okay, but it's gonna be bad. Okay.
So, ito naman very specific because Trump has been threatening to impose 60% tariffs on Chinese goods. So, how is the state media reacting or maybe quoting Chinese officials? And how do you see this playing out between US and China?
Of course, they are framing it as it will not exactly harm China, but it will harm the US more. Because if they put tariffs, no, I mean, I'm not an economist, no, but
Yes.
if they put tariffs on products coming from China, the ones who are going to buy the products are going to suffer it more. And that's the US consumers, no. So kumbaga, ang strategy, well, at least those that I've read is that some companies who are coming from China might just move inside the United States, okay, and take advantage of the Made in America label, because that's what Donald Trump is promoting anyway. And with that, no, parang they're trying to avoid the tariffs, no, the 60% tariff. On the part of China, I think the main concern is how this will affect other allies of the United States, more than China itself. Kasi parang China, I think, no, has other markets aside from the United States. And I think in the past years, they have been building up on those other markets. No? But the other allies who might suffer this tariff is something that is what's concerning China.
Yung other markets ng China, that's us, kasama na dyan yung ASEAN. It's one of its bigger
Africa,
markets.
Latin America, and Europe as well.
So, do you foresee yung, di ba nung Trump 1.0, nagkaroon ng trade war. So, do you see this happening again? Or they already know how to deal with it?
I think China is preparing for that. And China is anticipating whatever policies that Trump might do. And basically, Trump is very transparent, no? Well, of course, we don't know if what Trump says now will be the actual thing that he will do later on. But he's kind of transparent in a way that he tells people, this is what I want to do. Okay, and therefore, it allows China to really prepare and have a sense now, oh, because he said he's going to do that, then we'll have to find ways to counter that already, as early as now.
So, how will they retaliate? Magkakaroon ba ng retaliation on this threat to impose 60% tax? Aside from you said they can go up around it by moving, some companies moving to America. Pero, hindi ba sila mag-retaliate sa US? How can they do that?
I think retaliation is not the... Probably there might be retaliation, but I don't think retaliation is the best word to describe because China doesn't want it to be more confrontational. If you look at the language of China, it's always trying to make it appear that they are the losing side. Diba? So China will never be aggressive in saying that we will go against Trump, but rather we will find ways to improve the conditions that was set by Trump. Diba? After all, it will always go back to the point na, oh, we're both big countries, we are big powers, we have equal rights in the economic system or international system. So, yung laging discourse ni China.
So, Xi Jinping has always been looking at America and the West as countries in decline, and China is the rising power, or China sees itself as equal of the U.S.
Oh, two narratives kasi yan at the same time. No, na parang, US and China are more or less equal in the global stage because we are all countries here, so we have equal opportunities. But at the same time, the narrative, especially within China, is that we are now on the rise. Okay? If not, we are close to being the first. No? So, may ganong... so, I guess they are trying to balance yung rhetoric and the narrative that they are promoting outside China and within China.
But because of Trump's victory, do they see China declining fast? I mean, U.S. declining faster na because of the kind of leadership of Trump and the way the world views him? Yeah,
I think China is more concerned about how it can take advantage of the situation. And kung babalikan natin yung tariff issue that you mentioned earlier, because tariffs is going to hurt other allies, no? Like Japan or say Australia or Korea. No? So, kumbaga, for China, though, this is a ripe opportunity because if that's going to hurt the alliance, then the alliance is going to be weaker. Then China has a greater opportunity to come in, okay, economically and even politically speaking.
Let's look at a few of Trump's appointments. Marco Rubio for State Secretary, and then Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor, and then somebody for, we don't know, it's up for the Pentagon's Pen Secretary, but all of them are China hawks. So does this matter to China, or how do they look at these appointments?
Well, firstly, consistent kasi yung foreign policy ni China, ni US towards China. No? I mentioned that earlier. Trump 1.0, Biden, and then now Trump 2.0. Yeah. So, kumbaga, they in a sense predicted already what's going to happen. Second, the red lines I mentioned earlier. So they have already laid down the parameters of the relationship of US and China. And now that Biden is closing, definitely this is a message for Trump. Third, no, for China, regardless of who sits there, their positions remain the same. So kumbaga, whether it's Marco Rubio in the State Department, it will not change China's position on Taiwan. Whether whoever sits in the national security portfolio of the U.S., no, their position on Ukraine, their position on South China Sea, and all other things happening internationally, Israel, remains the same. So, kumbaga, for China, I will not be depending my position on whoever is placed by your president, but rather I will continue to assert what I think benefits the interest of China, no, in relating with the U.S.
So let's say Marco Rubio na napaka China hawk and si Mike Waltz speak up. Let's say, you know, sending messages to China publicly. Ma-affect ba ang China dito? What I mean is, will it humiliate them? Will they lose face if the U.S. keeps attacking them?
Well, depends on who is receiving now the message. Probably some would say, oh, this is humiliating China. But China will just circle back to its position. Parang, like, okay, he can say what he wants, but China's position remains clear. So I think that's how the MOFA, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, always responds. It goes back to the core issue and say that, no, whatever you say there, we'll just stick to what we have here. Yeah.
Oo nga, parang you're talking to a wall. So maybe I just want to know your insights on Xi Jinping. Kasi it's his third term.
Yes, yes.
And parang some reports say that he's definitely a risk taker. So do you see him escalating tension in the South China Sea and in Taiwan? You know, di ba may goal nga sila to reunify.
Yeah.
But do you see Xi Jinping in his third term and with Trump there escalating the tension in these two areas?
I think now Xi Jinping is in a more or less better position because it's his third term and he was already able to fully consolidate at least the leadership of the party supporting and backing his position. So if that is the case, then if you're saying he's very a risk taker, no, he could actually take the risk and push the boundaries further. But China always does it in a calculated manner, no? Not to overcredit China, no, but also recognizing China's efforts in the past years now. They have been doing it little by little, right? The claims, for example, in the South China Sea were not done overnight, no? So unti-unti niyang binubuo yung mga isla hanggang sa na-solidify niya yung basis niya. So I think the same would be the response of Xi Jinping in terms of how he intends to reunify China, for example. It will be done in small pieces. In fact, if you ask, there's a study I've read recently, you know, that people, the Chinese people, do not really want a military confrontation with regards to Taiwan reunification. I think this is also essential for the Communist Party and Xi Jinping to consider, because if the people themselves do not want a war that will be involved in order to reunify the China that they want to have, then I guess it's going to be a good signal for the risks that he might not be able to really take at this point.
So you mean the Communist Party and Xi Jinping, they also listen to what their publics are saying, their constituents?
Structurally, that's how it should be going, right? Because at every level of governance in China, there's a consultative committee or consultative commission. So they try to get inputs from the public. But at the same time, this is balanced with the interest or the agenda of the party. So they have to balance it out. Otherwise, it's going to be shaky for the Communist Party. Yeah.
So let's, maybe the final two questions. What do you see are the challenges for China in the next 4 years with Trump as President of America?
Well, there are probably two challenges, domestically and internationally. So let's start with the international first. How it will be able to manage the unpredictability of a Trump presidency. Of course, we are saying for the past few minutes that Trump has already laid down the cards, but those cards are not necessarily permanent. He might change his mind midway, and that could definitely affect how China has been planning to respond to those cards. Of course, I'm assuming China doesn't have a single plan. It has different plans laid out should Trump decide on those things. So that's going to be a challenge. How fast will they be able to maneuver? Okay. Second, how China will respond to the domestic clamors. Because economically speaking, they have to make sure that the citizens are satisfied. China is, the Communist Party is banking on performance legitimacy. So as long as they can provide or cater to the needs of the 1.4 billion Chinese in the mainland, then I guess they would have a more stable relationship with the rest of the countries that they are having relationships with. Especially since, it's the third term of Xi Jinping. We don't know if he will have a fourth term. Okay, but a lot of China observers are saying that there's nothing that stops him from getting a fourth term. Except probably old age. But
how old is he now?
I think he was 70 when he was elected, so probably in 72 or 73.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall, maybe, I don't know if this is a trick question, but so overall, is Trump a nightmare or a dream for China? Or both?
Can be both. It is a nightmare insofar as Trump can really shake up the international system. But it is a dream in the sense that it will allow China to blossom in a way, in manners that China might think this is going to be for their interest.
So this is really exciting, Rob, to watch the next 4 years.
Yes.
And I think we'll talk to you again.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you very much.
That's it for today's show. We invite you to download the Rappler Communities app to get all our stories and participate in this conversation. Thank you to our viewers. This has been Worldview with Marites Vitug. Till next time.